number 6, so and calculate, you go see the ratio. The beef self na meat, yo. Whether na asu, them relate, yo. So bring your own crayfish, yo. We go mix, so oh nah. Share na them talk say we no go blow. Share them they see us now, we don't dey glow. Take a look at me now. Take a look at me now. We're running things in this town. Can't you see?
I don't care who you are, where you're from, or what you do. Just as long as you're chasing money, do what's right, never give up on it. Bring it on, bring it on.
Are you ready? Wanna ready?
No matter how you try, don't you ever fall. Keep your head up high and standing tall. Bring it on, bring it on.
Are you ready? Wanna ready?
No matter how you try, don't you ever fall. Keep your head up high and standing tall.
And rising, rising, rising. Keep it high, rising, rising.
Bring it on.
This life is not easy. So much hustling and puzzling. Everyone is struggling. So make you know they believe, say. Since everyone is chasing, you're never gonna make it. Never say no, never give up. Keep your head up, standing tall. And for sure, you go turn it up, turn down for what? Share na them talk say, we no go blow. Share them they see us now, we don't dey glow. Take a look at me now, take a look at me now. We're running things in this town. Can't you see?
I don't care who you are, where you're from, or what you do. Just as long as you're chasing money, do what's right, never give up on it. Bring it on, bring it on.
Are you ready? Wanna ready?
No matter how you try, don't you ever fall. Keep your head up high and standing tall. Bring it on, bring it on.
Are you ready? Wanna ready?
No matter how you try, don't you ever fall. Keep your head up high and standing tall.
And rising, rising, rising. Keep it high, rising, rising.
Right, so you're welcome back. It is still the Cocoa Digest morning show, making waves on the screen of Clock TV, and it is time for us to have our lifestyle conversation. My name is Miriam Abna Adide, but before that, I hope you enjoyed that beautiful tune that was played, and that was Bring It On by P Square. And so we are bringing it on your screens this morning. We are giving it to you back to back. And so, yes, thank you so much for sticking with us even till now. And it promises to be exciting because today we are talking about lung cancer prevention and also screening or early screening. And this is the conversation we are going to be having today because unfortunately, lung cancer happens to be one of the leading causes of cancer-related death worldwide, and Ghana is no exception. However, with early detection and awareness, I believe we can all live a healthy life and also stronger for our generations to come. Today on the segment, we'll be exploring how some lifestyle choices, environmental factors, and early screening can help us live a healthy life on Earth. And I have with me an expert to have that conversation with, and he's in the person of, before I mention his name, let me tell you a little about his credentials. He's an author, an entrepreneur, and also a medical doctor at the Kolobu Teaching Hospital. He is in the person of Dr. Derek Kolete. Dr. Derek Kolete. Hello, Doc.
Hello, Miriam.
Did I get your surname right?
Oh, it was a good attempt.
But how is it pronounced?
Yes, it's right. Quality.
Quality.
Yes.
Quality.
It's a Krobo
Oh,
name,
okay.
So, quality.
You are celebrating your festival, or?
Yeah, no. It's October. It's
in October.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So,
But Homowa is upcoming, right?
for sure.
So you'll be joining them.
Absolutely. Guys are God done ways.
Right. Let's get straight into the conversation. Today we'll be discussing lung cancer prevention and also screening. And we believe that at the end of the conversation, our viewers will get some insight into lung cancer.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, but I feel issues relating to lung cancer have not really been, broadened in the media space for some time. And so I think this conversation is prudent for our viewers. Now let's start with the basics. What is lung cancer about?
Great. So before I go on, I'd like to say a lovely morning to our listeners. And you look amazing, by the way.
Thank you. You don't
Yeah.
look bad. Real men wear pink.
So, October is breast cancer for the pink.
yeah,
That's
okay,
just by the
so
way.
yeah, heating up
Yeah,
towards
heating up
that.
for
Yeah.
And it's a lovely point you made by stating that lung cancer is not as widely known as, let's say, breast
Breast
cancer.
cancer, yeah.
Prostate
Because
cancer.
when I did
some
my
of the other
research,
cancers.
I realized breast cancer was the leading, cancer we have in the world.
Absolutely. Yes. And in men, we have prostate cancer and some of the other
Okay,
more
yeah,
common
sure.
cancers. But lung cancer is one of the emerging concerns for the future. Because what we're experiencing is that the risk factors or the things that lead to people developing lung cancer,
Yeah.
it's going on the upward. So these are things that we should start having more conversations like this.
yeah.
Because it will become a real threat
Sure.
going forward.
Okay, let's look at some of the causes. I mean, let's just hit the nail right on its head. What are some of the causes of lung cancer?
Great.
Common
So
causes that
there,
people
there,
can
there are some very common causes of lung cancer. The leading cause of 7 out of 10 lung cancers in people is cigarette smoking.
Cigarettes, okay.
Cigarette smoking. And, cigarette smoking is something people pick out of habit. I have a friend of mine who schooled outside the country. And then, they tend to have very cold weathers,
Yeah.
and some way of coping for some people is cigarette smoking. So you go to countries like, let's say, Cuba, Ukraine, Russia.
Okay.
So it's a normal thing for your lecturer to be smoking, for a doctor to be smoking. So it's like,
Yeah.
you travel, you pick up certain cultural habits. And even in a local context, peer influence, smoking, these are habits that people tend to pick along the lines. And it has a very devastating implication in the long run. And even more than smoking, living with someone that smokes.
Smokes, yeah. I'm not talking about,
Yeah. So you have a boyfriend that is a smoker.
Smoker.
Like, oh, I don't smoke. I'm from a good Christian home. But sharing that same space with that person when the person smokes puts you in just as much risk of developing lung cancer, if not more.
Some also say that you, the one inhaling the smoke, is at a higher rate of, attracting lung cancer.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
As compared to-
the cigarette smoke itself
Yeah.
contains 7,000 chemicals.
Wow.
One puff, and you're exposing yourself to 7,000
7,000.
different chemical compounds,
Wow.
most of which are very dangerous and harmful to your lung. And, when God created man, for example, he breathed in him the breath of life. That's what the Bible says. So breath is crucial to life. So anything that compromises your ability to breathe,
Breathe, yeah.
it's very threatening. Yeah.
I see. That's very interesting. Well, if you just joined us, we just started a conversation here on the lifestyle segment, and we are discussing lung cancer prevention and also screening. And I'm doing this with Dr. Derek Kolete from the Kolum Teaching Hospital, and he is helping us with that education. Along the line, the phone lines will be opened for our callers or our viewers to call and ask any question you want to ask regarding to the topic for discussion. You can also send your comments to our WhatsApp number, which is being displayed on the screen, and also on our Facebook platform as well as YouTube, and we'll gladly read your comments out. Now, Doc,
Miriam.
we know the long-term effect of lung cancer is death. You're eventually going to die. But what are some of the lesser risks that are associated to lung cancer?
Okay, great. So we talked about the more common risk factors. The lesser known risk factors that lead to lung cancer are rather more common in the Ghanaian society.
Okay.
I'd hardly walk into the room and then see the cameraman smoking or you, the
Yes.
host, taking a smoke.
Yeah.
It's because culturally we are, more of a reserved society. So smoking, you would hardly see people smoke in public. But what you'd see that is also a concerning risk factor, although it's lesser known, is diesel fumes.
Sure.
Diesel fumes.
Yeah.
Particularly we living in the urban area. So let's say a car would have a roadworthy sticker. But when it passes by, you struggle to breathe.
Yeah.
So these are some of the things that can cause lung cancer in the long run with prolonged exposure. And then firewood.
Firewood.
Yes.
Okay.
So cooking with firewood. There was a study done in one of the teaching hospitals in Ghana, and it they were studying people living with lung cancer, and they found out that more than half of the people that developed lung cancer in that hospital were women. You think men are the ones smoking, right? But the people that developed lung cancer were women.
Women.
And the reason why these women were developing lung cancer was not related to cigarette smoking.
Yeah.
They had no history, very little, very insignificant history with regards to cigarette smoking.
Yeah.
It was rather, more research may be needed to establish the causality, but essentially it was women that, were using firewood,
Yeah.
fish smoking, burning refuse in the home. So these are very, lesser known risk factors that cause lung cancer. But a more curious one is what we call asbestos exposure. And asbestos is a compound that's used in making roofs.
Okay. Is that what is being displayed on the screen?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
So most of us, growing up, I was used to this type of roofing sheet.
Oh, okay.
So these types of roofing sheets come predominantly from India,
Okay.
where they use asbestos, which is a very robust material to create the roof, so the roofs can last for a long time. However, the asbestos fibers, they have a carcinogenic property where if you tend to breathe it in, then you develop lung cancer in the long run. So the factory workers over time were noticed to develop a prolonged cough and then subsequently died from the illness. So there was a relationship between asbestos exposure and then the developing lung cancer. But, we have standards boards. We have a lot of institutions whose job it is to regulate what things are safe for public consumption and public utility. However, you don't see anybody going around checking people's houses to see what roofing sheets they're using.
But of late, I haven't really seen, houses with
Yes, so
such
it's gone out of, it's gone out of fashion, thankfully.
Was that
However,
a result of the exposure of people knowing the effects it came with, or it just, faded out because maybe it was outmoded?
I think we have to give the state institutions some credit.
Yeah.
Because they've taken some steps to make sure that certain types of asbestos products don't make their way into the country. However, one of the experiences I had one of the cautions I would give out is that people who are working with regards to roofs should take precautions because you can't tell what type of roofing sheets you're working. So any sort of, wearing a nose mask of a certain caliber to protect yourself from inhaling the asbestos fibers will be a good step to take.
How can one tell if they are going to purchase a roofing sheet, and how can they tell that they are going to be prone to, risk of getting lung cancer?
Great, it's a great question. So people should ask questions. Ghanaians are notorious for not asking questions. We are not very curious. And when we are going into, for example, I took a haircut yesterday because I'm coming on television. So I walked into the barbering shop.
Yeah.
I immediately noticed that the disinfectant was off. There's a sterilizing machine. It was broken. The thing had come off. It wasn't on. And then the razor machines were inside the disinfectant, but they were not working. So I was like, the disinfectant is not working. I'm not going to get a haircut. Ghanaians will just sit back and say that, it's normal. Okay, let me just give a haircut. It's not a big deal. I think we should be more proactive about our health and ask more relevant questions. So the people selling, ask them, is asbestos in this roofing sheet? They should provide you some evidence, some amount of evidence, or details about the product you're purchasing, if it has asbestos or otherwise. But thankfully, most of the modern roofing sheets don't have.
Okay. With regards to this, I believe it is just the elite that are going to be asking questions. What then happens to those that cannot even tell if the roofing sheets have those chemicals?
Great. So it falls back to state duty or state responsibility to protect the masses. Like you said, not all of us are privy to a certain type of knowledge or information. So the state institutions have to play a more responsible role in limiting the types of roofing sheets that we allow into the country. Because India presently still produces asbestos roofing sheets, and they want places to sell them. And Africa, unfortunately, we have our hands open wide to receive anything that pours into the country. So I think our state institutions have a bigger role to play.
Now, back to the issue of cigarettes. On the box, the cigarettes box, they usually give a caution that you can get lung cancer or this is harmful, or, those kind of things. Do you think Ghanaians are aware of what they are signing up for? Like, I know, if I should take in cigarettes, I'm going to die, but I'll still take it. Do you think Ghanaians are aware of the effects? Yeah.
So I have a friend of mine, he doesn't believe in healthy living. His idea is that life is short. Let me do anything I like. After all, I could eat all the right food, drink all the right things, eat veggies, eat fruits, and then I'm crossing the road and the car knocks me down. What have I achieved at the end of it? So we sort of have a bit of that ideology, but also one component of cigarette is called nicotine. Nicotine. Okay. So nicotine essentially is a very addictive compound. So it feeds into an addiction. It starts as something you do every now and then. But once you get hooked on the nicotine, it becomes an addiction that becomes very difficult to break.
Okay.
So you have people that know smoking is not good for them. We have people that, it's like they're not happy smoking. I have doctor friends who smoke. You can't be more educated on these doctors because they understand exactly how the mechanisms through which cigarette smoking leads to cancer comes about. But they can't help themselves but smoke. So it's a problem that, despite the information that smoking can lead to lung cancer, you need a bit of help to be able to, take yourself out of that.
We have a picture displayed on the screen.
Absolutely.
Can you speak to that?
Yes, so this is a picture of a human lung.
Okay.
So we have two lungs. These are the pink, organs you can see on either side. And then your throat essentially coming down. So you breathe in and it goes through that airway and then it bifurcates into either lung.
Sure.
So typically a healthy lung should be nice and pink.
Okay.
And there shouldn't be any issues around it. But what we see in the image above there is this yellowish ball that sort of started to grow on the left lung that we see displayed. And that essentially is how a lung cancer would appear.
I see. There's a second one.
So essentially we've cut through the lung and then we are looking at it at some point in the as a midline section.
Okay.
And then we are seeing multiple balls of the lung tissue, the carcinogenic or the cancer tissue developing in the lungs there. So essentially, once you take in the cigarette smoke, the harmful chemicals cause an inflammatory process in the lung tissue. And serious exposure to these harmful substances can cause what we call a cell mutation.
Okay.
That changes a normal lung tissue into something that starts to replicate abnormally.
Okay.
So it starts to reproduce, then it forms a cancer tissue. The cancer tissue, unfortunately, ends in death.
Right. So we on the lifestyle segments, we are more concerned about people living a healthy life. So what are some of the lifestyle choices that you think people can do or adopt that can help them stay healthy or avoid the risk of getting lung cancer?
Great. So all of medicine is moving in the direction of primary prevention, where we try and then avoid having the disease and then frantic about how we can solve it. But how instead of doing secondary prevention, we focus on primary prevention. So it's a great question. One of the first things we can do is, if you smoke, stop smoking.
Stop smoking.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's easier said than done, because there's an addiction component to it. But thankfully, there are, very vibrant mental health institutions that provide very quality services in helping people who have a desire to rehabilitate themselves to do so. When you are living with people that smoke, don't chastise them, don't shout at them, don't say you're a bad boy, you're a bad girl. Offer them help.
How?
By linking them to care or linking them to a person that has the right training and capacity to offer them the help that they need.
On the issue of smoking, we have a question here, but before I read it, we are reminding our viewers that the phone lines are being opened, and so you can call and share your comments, your views on the topic for discussion. The number is being displayed on the screen. You can call 0500-50423, 0500-500-423, and we'll gladly answer your call. We have a question here, and this is from Fifi inside Taifa. Fifi is asking, Mimi, can you ask Doc if it's just cigarettes that causes lung cancer or any other smoke?
So I think this will circle into vaping. Vaping is another thing that seems to have caught on with young people in Ghana society.
Is it the one that is known as shisha?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
So we have shishas. You walk into restaurants and people are having shishas.
Shisha.
Night out, club settings. People are having a good time. There's no real evidence that links vaping to developing lung cancer. However, vaping is an unregulated space or an unregulated industry in the sense that the chemical compounds that are put inside the vaping machine, it's like there's no hard and fast rule. Anything can go in there, and then anything will be coming out of your nostrils. So you can't say vaping does not or cannot cause lung cancer because, only God knows what's going inside the machine. So it's advisable generally to avoid vaping because apart from developing lung cancer, vaping causes a wide array of other respiratory diseases, which are not necessarily cancer, but can equally be disturbing in the long run.
I see. So, okay, Fifi is still asking, aside, vaping and smoking cigarettes, can marijuana also lead to that?
So,
the intake of marijuana?
Yes. So, marijuana is weed.
Weed. Okay.
Right? Marijuana is weed. And there are several ways people take weed. So, if you take weed, but not necessarily through smoking, maybe there may not be any correlation.
Yeah.
But once you take weed together with, as an inhalational product, it could be mixed with some other substances that could trigger that process. Because when it comes to, I was watching the interview of a gentleman that was one of the high personalities in Ghana Waterworks many years ago. And then he had the opportunity to he was addicted to marijuana.
Okay.
He had the opportunity to go to London to go study. And then while studying, he had a dealer that would supply him with weed.
Wow.
But the dealer would lace the weed with some other compounds that he had no idea.
Oh.
So then there was cocaine in there, was a few other compounds he had no idea. He realized that this type of weed was more nicer than all the other weed he was used to, and then his life went downhill from there. So I would not recommend marijuana smoking because people tend to mix this with all sorts of other things.
I see. We'll be wrapping up shortly, but we want to know, are there any available lung cancer screenings happening in Ghana at the moment?
Great. So lung cancer is a disease that typically shows a few signs and symptoms before it's full-blown. And prior to developing it, you'd experience long bouts of cough. And then your cough, you may see blood in the cough, and you would have some weight loss. Some people would have chest pain when they cough. They feel a lot of pain in their chest. They have difficulty breathing, So there's some of the
symptoms
things that you see. So once you start to see that, you don't take it for granted. You don't just go to a pharmacy to get some amoxicillin. You have to come into
so we have
facility and
pictures
seek
of that.
treatment.
So
Absolutely. So that's something that you would see.
I see. Yeah. Okay, so we have a question here. This is from Dominic Anoka from, also known as Bongo. Dominic wants to know, who are secondary smokers and why are they mostly affected with the smoke from primary smokers?
Yeah, so great question.
That, yeah.
So secondary smokers or passive smokers are people who happen to share company with, let's say, for example, Miriam, that is not in this room, smokes.
Of course.
Okay, and then I'm sharing company with this Miriam. I'm
Yeah.
not smoking myself, but Miriam is smoking. So when Miriam takes a breath, she exhales, carbon dioxide together with some of the carbon monoxide and the tar, nicotine, and other
Yeah.
harmful formaldehyde compounds that are in the smoke. So when that comes out, I'm getting a full riff of all the other, toxins that she took in, and then all the other harmful, products that her body is bringing out as well.
Doc, this topic is really bringing in interesting comments. We also have a comment here from Obiba, and he's saying, please, there is a myth that if a guy gives his lady a head, that can also cause lung cancer. Please, is that true?
So, well, I don't know where to start from. Anyway, so when you have, certain, let's say, oral vaginal intercourse with your spouse, it's not been studied to cause lung cancer.
Lung cancer.
However, I think there are some concerns around, let's say, throat cancer with regards to certain, viruses that tend to live in the genital area and their proclivity to cause throat cancer.
I see. So someone wants you to, highlight on the causes, the symptoms of lung cancer so they can, know if they have it or not. So if you could briefly, highlight that again so they get it.
In 2022, I had a young man. His job was to do camera installations.
Okay.
And he'd been doing it for 15 years.
Okay.
I was like 35 or pushing 40. And then he came to my consulting room with a prolonged history of coughing. Been coughing for months on end.
Okay.
And he's gone to every clinic, every shop. Nobody seemed to put together what was wrong with the man. So I asked him a few questions. What work do you do? I asked him a very direct question, so he was very surprised. I asked him, do you do any work around roofs?
Yeah.
And then he told me that he does camera installation, so he's working on roofs all the time. And I was like, bingo. Because then asbestos exposure is the culprit in this case. So having some of these things that cause prolonged cough, when you cough there's blood, when you're losing weight. The trousers you wear now sags on you, the clothes you wear are no longer fitting, these are signs that show that something is wrong.
Okay. So lastly, are there any governmental initiatives, or even from your personal point of view, what do you think governments can do to help mitigate this situation?
Great. So I think we should strengthen state institutions. It's a very controversial point, but John Hughes did an interview with Kofi Amoabeng, the former UT boss. And he made a statement. He said Ghanaians are bad people. Maybe that's why God is punishing us in this government. But it's a very controversial statement. So Ghanaians usually don't like following systems.
Okay.
For example, I talked about cars that are not roadworthy, but have roadworthy licenses and permits. So these are things that we have to strengthen. Asbestos roofs that have no business being in this country should not be in this country. And we should, let's say, play a more active and responsible role. For example, I was coming from Dansoman to this venue, and I walked past a huge dump site, and there's smoke from the dump site 24 hours, and it's blowing towards Kolebu Polyclinic. And I was just imagining, if someone happens to live there, there's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 31 days a month, constant exposure to these harmful fumes. I think there's something that governments can, play a more proactive role by strengthening state institutions whose jobs are to deal with these issues.
Do you have any upcoming projects?
So we are still going on the, talking about. I'm very grateful that we had this platform to talk about
Of course.
lung cancer. I'm really impressed with Cocoa Digest for the initiative.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think continuing media engagement would really go a long way to help, create awareness about lung cancer. But, the treatment of lung cancer is complex because it's expensive. You have to do a lot of chemotherapy, surgeries, and these are things that are not covered by the health insurance.
Okay, sure.
So people have to pay out of pocket. So going forward, it will be a good thing if government can afford, like they've taken on the dialysis and health insurance, if they can also take on the treatment for some of these cancers.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today for this education. Looking forward to having you, more often to help us with education and other things. Right. So this is where we end the lifestyle segment on today's discussion. We discussed lung cancer prevention and also early screening or screening. And I did this with Dr. Derek Colette, and he is a medical doctor from the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, and he has just done, justice to the topic. And so I hope we all are going to, learn from the things he mentioned so we live a healthy life. As he mentioned, the cost for curing lung cancer is very expensive. And so you need to really, be intentional about your health so you can avoid, getting lung cancer and other cancer-related diseases. My name is Miriam Abna Adede. Up next is the birthday segment. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
I heard today was your birthday. I heard today was your birthday.
And you're welcome back. Now it is time for us to celebrate our birthday, personalities, and we are starting off with our birthday celebrant, our first birthday celebrant. And this is from Auntie Pat, and she's wishing her twin sisters a happy birthday, a blessed birthday to the fabulous twins in my life, praying that you will continue to be the head and not the tail, and may your smiles never fade. Happy birthday to Linda, and this is from Mimi. And this is from Christabel Ache. And Christabel is wishing Miss Ache a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Miss Ache. May the good Lord continue to bless you abundantly. Thank you so much, Christabel, for bringing in your message. This is also from Osei family to Samuel Osei Efriye. Hello, this is the Osei family wishing our dear brother Samuel Osei Efriye a happy birthday. Thank you very much, Osei family, for bringing in your message. And this is to Mr. Seth Anku, and a happy birthday to my dad, Seth Anku Badagba. Thank you so much for bringing in your birthday messages, and we hope to do same on Thursday because we are bringing you another exciting content here on the lifestyle segment. It has been me, Miriam Abna Adede. Please stay with us. Business segment is up next with Clement Yaban Kwe.